Fran, welcome to the Marketing for Business podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I feel like I hijacked you though. You came in to shoot videos. You're the chief executive of the Special Olympics, and we've been creating some videos. I kind of think I'm not going to let this opportunity go. You know, I wanted to have a chat to you. Look, this audience is all about business, all about marketing, but also about leadership. And you've got a wealth of knowledge in sport leadership and being a chief executive. But also, I read because while you were filming videos, I started researching you. You also been a sales manager at a car dealership.
Yes, I was. That was early in my 20s. And actually, I got told I could sell ice to Eskimo. That
Well, this is interesting because I read a testimonial. Now I'm going to read it out. Fran was quite simply a superstar for our business, and it was an Auto Trader style magazine. And they mentioned that you did really well despite the fact that there was a significant local competitor and the facing a declining market. And it went on to say that you made a sale of $250,000. And I just read and I was like, right, okay. I'm going to talk about leadership. I'm going to talk about sport. I'm going to talk about Special Olympics, but I want to talk about sales and business first. What did you learn about business and sales early on?
Yeah, really early on, it was about the relationship.
Yep.
So something we all know, right? Needing to understand what are our customers trying to achieve and how we can do that. And I think for me, it was authenticity that I couldn't look someone in the eye
Yep.
and sell them something that I didn't believe was actually going to help them in
Nice.
their business. So that was what I did.
How did you get that belief? Like, what did you do to? Because I think it's a really important thing. If you're not sold on what you're doing, how people can see through it, especially today, like where everyone can. Well, even in that back, you know, people can see through it. So how did you convince yourself, and how did you start to believe in what you were doing?
Yeah, I looked at it as a fact that if that was my money, would I spend it?
Nice.
And would I invest it?
How good.
So that's how I did it.
Yeah. And you convince yourself, yes, I would spend my money here, so I'm going to go out. And how did you start building relationships?
That was just getting to know people. So part of my role at the car dealer or Auto Trader as well, once it was bought out, was understanding what the car dealers were trying to achieve. And that was back when you had a magazine at a fish and chip shop.
Yeah.
You used to go and
Oh, yeah, true.
wait for your fish and chips. And then it morphed onto online. So autotrader.co.nz became a thing. And so the online, I guess, marketing at that stage was really different. And so we needed to understand what the impact would look like.
Yeah, that would have been relatively the early days, the crossover from that magazine. I remember that magazine. There was actually a couple of them. One was yellow, one was green, I believe. And that was the way the car dealers promoted their vehicles that they had. Hard case, right? And look at it today, and then it went online. So you would have been early on when it went online.
Yeah, correct.
How good. What did you learn there? Because that would have been a massive thing to try and explain to a car dealer as well. By the way, we're not doing the magazine anymore. And like a lot of car dealers back in the day, touchy, feely, want it, see it.
Yep.
So all of a sudden it's going up in this thing up there.
And you're absolutely right. So their whole business model was around, if I could draw them in and entice them in, then I can sell them the product. And now we had this online where they can see everything. They can look through the photos, not just a cover photo, but actually all the photos. And we had to use the data and insights that we were getting off the actual Auto Trader website and showcase it.
How did you then, because I think this is a skill too, how did you then explain that to the dealerships to know that they're getting value?
Yeah. Well, it was there was a couple of mechanisms that we had. So we had unique viewers.
Yep.
So those were obviously the ones that were going on their specific vehicle. And then the actual general views of where their either all of the vehicles or the actual organization was being shown. So just broke that down so it was really clear and that they weren't getting mixed up and we weren't over exaggerating numbers because we're seeing hits to a website is very different to unique views. And so we're really clear and authentic in what that looked like.
And obviously, you would have seen the growth through that too, right? And then once they started seeing it, people would, wanting to invest in it. What did you start to learn about online and where it was going?
Oh, that was the time where Google AdWords came in as well. So
Oh,
there's
so
a
good.
whole new learning there too. So online and where it was heading there fast. And I think our car dealers felt that we had their level of knowledge
Yeah.
they didn't have. And
Nice.
so we talked them through that. So it wasn't just selling a hey, this is a new product, get on there. It was, this is how you can change and shape your business to
Yeah.
reach outside of the regions, because the actual car dealer
Sure.
magazines were just based in the fish and chip shop
Yeah.
within that region.
Yeah. And that you're filling that knowledge gap.
Yeah.
How did you like, was there a lot of pushback or was there a
Yeah.
lot of, yeah? What were some of the things like people just not into it or just thought it was a bit of a scam?
Yeah, so Miles Gaisley in Wellington was and still is, a big car dealer,
Mm.
and he had a lot of car dealer sites, and he at first was like, no, not doing it,
Yeah.
not doing it. And then slowly talking through to his managers of the stores and the branches, they realized really quickly that actually they were missing out on sales throughout the whole entire country because they were just focused in
Yeah.
Wellington.
In Wellington. And then all of a sudden you have a national reach and you're in front of more, essentially just in front of more eyeballs, right? More people viewing it, more potential to make sales. And then the switch would have turned and then all of a sudden, no magazine.
Yeah.
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 Crazy, right? And then everything goes online and then, probably now Trade Me kind of owns that market, Turners. Yeah, interesting. What's one thing that you learnt back in the day that you still use today in your career?
To reach people where they're at, and understand what they're trying to achieve in that. So, speaking to the language that they use, ensuring that the way in which we're articulating ourselves, the messaging is getting across correctly. If there's questions coming back, then how could we ensure that we're answering them in a meaningful way?
That's genius. So how does a business owner today look at that, reach people where they're at? What are some of the things that they need to do? What are some things they could action that they could put in place? Because that is such a skill, reaching people where they're at, understanding the language that they're talking or the language that they're missing, and allowing them to fill in the gaps by you providing some a better context to the content that you're trying to get across.
Yeah, so a lot of it is understanding, and I'm sure lots of your listeners will do it
Mm.
already, is understanding the customer,
Yeah.
understanding that different demographic, and then, like I say, that language change. Ethnicities have different ways in which they operate business as a
True.
whole, and I learnt that through my basketball days,
Yep.
and I did a couple of tours over into Asia, and the way in which they do business is very, very different to
Yeah.
New Zealand. Yeah.
It's really interesting. I was talking to my property manager yesterday, and he was just we're talking about another property that we're going to be renting out, and he was just I was talking about the healthy homes.
Oh, yeah.
And he said, we've got a real issue now in New Zealand because we've got these healthy homes, and so an older home is now becoming too healthy. That mold is starting to appear in houses that never had mold. And I said, oh well, and I said, oh, so what do you talk to the government about this and the MB and whatever? He said, oh yeah, he just said their thing is to tell the tenants to open the windows. And he said,
Get
what?
some fresh air in.
Yeah, he said, but what people don't understand is um, different ethnicities don't. Some people don't open the windows in their houses ever.
Yep.
And so now you're telling people to do stuff that they've never done before. And I thought that was really interesting. We're trying to tell them one way to fix something when, like that's just not done that way with the way they live. And I thought, wow, that's an interesting takeaway.
But that's
Um,
also understanding people
mm.
and the ethnicities that are in New Zealand, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great one, reaching people where they are.
Mm.
All right, let's get into some I could talk a wee bit more about that. Maybe I'll circle back round. But now you're the chief executive of the Special Olympics. And look, I was lucky enough and one of our great clients is Novus New Zealand and Mikey and his team, they were one of the presenting partners for the Special Olympics. It's just been last year in Christchurch, and what a privilege to see behind the what you guys have created there, the community that you've created. And it was fascinating and so cool to meet the athletes and like the spark that they have and the enjoyment they have. I'd love to talk to you more about the organization and your role. Essentially, what is your role within that organization? And I know you don't just wear one hat, so please feel free to tell us everything that you do.
Yeah, our absolute privilege to start with to be the Chief Executive of Special Olympics New Zealand. And for those that don't know, Special Olympics New Zealand is an organisation that was founded on the basis of giving people with an intellectual disability the opportunity to participate in sport. And we use sport as that vehicle to provide better health outcomes, well-being, not just for
Mm.
them, but also for their families. But Special Olympics are National Summer Games, the impact,
Yeah.
Christchurch, Ōtautahi
Yeah.
put it on. We could not have done it without your help and
Mm.
also Nova. So really, really grateful for that. But in terms of what I do everything.
Yeah.
We are a small
Yeah.
organization. So from marketing to our CRM system
Mm.
to police vetting to commercial properties, our event strategy, strategies in general, you name it.
Yeah. Just
I've
some
got a bit
context
for
to
it.
that event, though. How many people did you have in Christchurch?
We had 1,205 athletes
Yeah.
in Christchurch. We had over 800 coaches as well, and thousands of volunteers.
Yeah. It was impressive, right? And
Amazing.
everywhere you went, like you saw people from the Special Olympics. I go to coffee in the morning at a gym, and then we go for coffee, and there was people staying at the university halls. And it was really cool. Obviously, the new facility in Christchurch that you used as well, and like it was a real buzz. One of my highlights was definitely the opening ceremony and clapping everyone in. It was a real like show was being put on, and I think, very humbled to see how, like the people, with disability, but they see themselves as athletes,
Mm.
and they so should be. Like that was the cool. That was probably one of the biggest things I realized. Hey, these people are here to compete, man.
Yeah.
They're not here to get second.
Oh, yeah.
They are here to compete.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's the thing, right? They see their ability rather than their
Yeah.
disability.
Yeah.
That's the way they look at it.
Yeah.
And
So good.
yeah, that was our biggest opening ceremony. We had 5,000 people
Yeah.
in that stadium cheering everyone on.
Yeah, and Jason Gunn delivered along with a young fella. Was it Andrew?
Yes.
Yeah, Andrew was a superstar. Kept Jason on track, I think. Jason won't be saying that. And it was so good to see. Like what made you, want to be involved? Obviously you've got a background in sport. You've been a chief executive. You were netball.
Mhm.
And what was the netball that you were involved with?
Yeah, so that's Netball Central Zone
Mm.
and the Te Wānanga Pulse,
Yep.
so the ANZ Premiership professional team.
Yep.
So I was involved there, and prior to that, I was with the Wellington Saints,
Nice.
and I had a dual role there, and I also ran the National Basketball League at the same
Yep.
time with that role. So that's a bit about my sporting background.
Yeah, and so what made you want to move into the Special Olympics? And I'd love to know what some of the things you've started to learn about yourself, going into a new career, and in an environment where, the people. I think that the most beautiful thing for me is the people are just so committed, so friendly. But the supporters are, and there's a genuine, like, the genuine community that you've created. And I think that's a businesses should look at that and see how they could do it. I think that's such a cool thing. So, what did you start to learn from changing roles into the Special Olympics?
Yeah. So I obviously came from high performance and community, and I came
Mm.
across into still sport, and so therefore could bring the knowledge and understanding of community sport and the impact that's made.
Yeah.
So the challenges faced within our community, but I also have a background in commercial
Yep.
and Special Olympics in New Zealand. Has got so much potential for people to get involved with.
Yes.
So many opportunities for our
Mm.
corporate partners to get behind and see and feel the impact that
Yeah.
you described earlier.
Yeah.
And so that was a real motivator for me. It's also based in Wellington. My daughter is in Wellington, and she's got a year and a half left at college, and so I've
Nice.
got quite a tie to Wellington at the moment. But then, yeah, where I go next, I'm not sure. But
So
it'll be a wee while away.
yeah, so corporate, when you like, obviously you see the opportunities to bring that corporate experience into the Special Olympics, because let's be honest, they you're running this pretty lean with
Yes.
people, and also resources. But one thing that blew me away was, and you mentioned it at the start, is health and well-being, which is a big part of what you do when you bring people into this to the Special Olympics and the Summer Games. Talk to a wee bit about that, and maybe some of the opportunities that you're starting to see from that, because I was blown away. You don't just bring people here, you're doing health checks. Like there was something like, was it 1,200 glasses or prescriptions, or it was a huge amount.
Yeah. Yeah, so for Special Olympics, what you're talking about is our Healthy Athletes program, and our athletes were screened over a few days that they were there, and that's a health and wellbeing outcome that we don't necessarily see them get within their regions.
Yeah.
And so we got the time and talent of our clinical directors and our managing directors, and they gave their time and talent to us to ensure that our athletes get that health and well-being, because we know that when someone participates
Yeah.
in a sport or recreation, that there's wellness benefits that help in terms of a wider understanding
Yeah.
of what that can do for them.
Yeah, and for some of these people, they hadn't had an eye test or a dentist check and stuff like that, and I just thought, "Wow, what a good initiative," you know? And obviously that leads to commercial opportunities too.
Yep.
I think who did you have involved in that? Was there a company involved in it?
Yeah, we have a lot of, through Special Olympics International, we have a lot of partners. So Golisano was one of them,
Oh, wow.
and they actually provide all of the glassware for us. So from our athletes that need a prescription, whether that's competition
Yep.
or just general wear, they actually get free prescriptions.
How good.
Yeah.
That stuff's life-changing, right? Because I know, you if you have always doing some things all the ways that you've always done them, and, like, maybe it's that poor sight, having, you know, glasses or having a check, they can change the game for you, right? Like,
Yeah.
just simple things, but you don't think of it. Like, as someone who just goes about their day and, like, a lot, as you mentioned, and I remember talking to a couple of people, like, they don't, not everyone's there to look after them all the time. So they go through, you can fall through the gaps,
Yep.
and you guys have filled that, which I just thought was really, really cool. It's not something I knew before, coming to and being involved, which I thought was really awesome. When you talk about commercial opportunities, what would you like to see for, like, the likes of the Special Olympics? Where do you see, the opportunities?
Yeah, well, the opportunities are for a more inclusive society in
Yep.
general. But from a corporate, it is understanding and showing the impact. It's that feeling that you described that we almost can't describe until you go and be in an event
Yeah.
and see and feel that impact. It's a corporate social responsibility, that is investing in a better New Zealand for New Zealand,
Mm.
is the way in which we look at it.
Yeah, and ideally, who do you see playing a role there? Is it any business or
Everyone,
yeah,
because
yeah,
no matter big or small, whether it's
yeah,
a few hours, a few dollars, all of that is impactful.
yeah,
All of that I can make $1 be $1,000,000
yeah,
in terms of spending it.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and
Gotta
look,
be resourceful.
you gotta be resourceful, and I think that's one of the coolest parts you see, good businesses, when you're more resourceful, you think more, right?
Yeah.
And you pull in other things and people help you out, and I think that's the kind of the New Zealand way too, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you see, like, when you look at the context of corporate, do you see, the product? I don't want to call it a product, but when I look at the Special Olympics and I look at the people, like, I remember meeting these two young people at the basketball, and just how articulate they were, and like what they were up to, and I thought, man, like, you could actually, like, they were gravitating towards the cameras,
Yes.
and I was like, you could be a spokesperson of whatever they were playing basketball. And I just thought, wow, maybe there's some opportunities there for these younger people who are athletes, to be involved with businesses too.
Yeah, absolutely. We have that already. We have athletes that are spokespeople for businesses in their local areas.
Oh, cool.
They go and speak about what they've learned in Special Olympics, what their life experiences be, what they want to achieve, what they want society to look like
How
and
good.
feel like. And I think that's a really, when we think about when we're younger in primary school, we don't judge people,
No.
right? We see some of those marketing campaigns where, put two kids in a room together and they see things differently,
Yeah.
right? And they don't judge. But as we go through into intermediate and as we go into college, that judgment starts to come
Yep.
through and that exclusion
Yep.
starts to come through. And so they being our athletes, they want you to understand what they can contribute, but also
Yep.
what you can get back from
True.
them. And that's the impact that
Yeah.
you've described.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and when you see it and feel it, you realize it too. You're like, "Ooh," and that's what I remember talking to to people and, like, I remember because we had the camera, we have our cameras, and you could see them wanting to talk, and I was like, started talking to them, and, like, it was a good chat, like, they were just really, really, and I was like, "Wow, you guys are, like, really articulate, you really," and it came across so well. Let's talk about local area, because that's something I think if we start to look at the local areas where, most businesses will have a community that they could get involved with, right? So let's talk about that. How would a local business get involved in the Special Olympics movement?
Yeah, well, we have 42 clubs throughout New Zealand.
Wow.
So you can get in touch with us via our website or you can get in touch with our clubs via their website. And it's simple as just volunteering. It could be for a day, It doesn't have to be for a whole entire year. Yeah, like I say, it could be a day, it could be a have-a-go day. You could be a coach, you could be on the committee. You don't have to have a family connection to be part of Special Olympics, and I think that's the breakdown of the barrier that we are working through at the moment,
Yep.
because we have a lot of our athletes and our parents and our caregivers that have come from the generation where, Templeton existed, whereas if you had someone with an intellectual disability, they actually got excluded from society. And so we're working our way through that now, and we're getting more and more volunteers that are actually, they don't have anything or any family commitment or
Nice.
connection, and they're just actually giving back, which is awesome.
What's a have a go day?
A have a go day is where we have our athletes and families, new families,
Yep.
and also families from our clubs that come down, and they just participate, everyone together. So it's not just our athletes; it's what we call unified.
Yeah. So you could have a go at a sport or like, yeah, cool.
It could be a disco, could be
Oh, yeah.
a sport, could be the athletics, it could be javelin or sprinting. But I think the other key thing around Special Olympics is when we're doing our work in schools, and what we've made sure of is we're teaching skills.
Yep.
We're not just putting our athletes and saying, okay, you're all just going to go play basketball.
Okay.
We're actually giving a range. They'll learn striking skills or kicking skills or all those locomotive skills, so that they can then go, actually, I'm really good at this.
Nice.
Might be striking. So I actually want to go and kick the ball around, and therefore I want to go into football or that. I mean, we've all
So
been there.
giving them other opportunities to see what they're good at.
We've all been there where we've had to do cross country at
Yeah.
school, and none of
Yeah,
us
yeah.
really wanted to do
Yeah.
cross country, did we?
No, true. No, definitely not.
So we don't want to do that on other people.
Yeah. So that have a go day is part of that, and people can get involved.
Yeah.
And so 42, like that sounds like you've got quite a lot of, you pretty much cover New Zealand.
Yes, we do.
How good. How good. I didn't know that. And look, so if you're in a local area, go check it out. Fascinating. You'll come away. I definitely think you'll come away. I know you'll come away with warmthness in your heart. It's a very, very cool thing to see and be part of. And look, because that's an interesting point, because you mentioned Templeton and breaking down barriers. What are you guys like actively doing to help the communities understand where you're at? And I know, like, bringing, the Special Olympics, and I know Mikey, that's what part of why he wanted to get involved, right? Is to get out there and showcase these athletes, So what are some of the barriers that you have that maybe we could break down right now for your athletes?
Yeah, well, we have people, we've actually created a series of online courses that people can go through to understand what's an intellectual disability and how to communicate with someone with an intellectual disability. Because sometimes people,
That
they're a
is
bit
brilliant.
nervous,
No, you wouldn't
and they're
be.
like, I don't want to offend anybody,
Yeah.
right? And so we acknowledge that, and we've created these online resources that people can go through. And at the National Summer Games here in Australia, Christchurch, we had all of our volunteers. They had to go through what's an intellectual disability and how
Yes.
do I communicate? Because the feedback we got from the games 4 years prior was that when we said, what is something different we could do? And they said, well, we didn't really understand and we didn't want to offend anyone.
Oh.
And so we took that knowledge and said, actually, we're going to change that. And this is how we can do that.
What's one thing you can do to communicate better with intellectually handicapped people that most people didn't know 4 years ago?
Yeah, well, don't treat them like babies. Don't like talk in a baby voice.
Yep.
Don't crouch down. Just talk to them like a normal person.
It-
Sometimes they may not make eye contact, and it really depends on the intellectual disability the
Yeah.
athlete has. It's not a sign of disrespect. It's just it's a trust thing. Over time, those conversations that you have with
Yeah.
them, you will then get eye contact.
So good. One thing I noticed straight away, and it was the language that everyone was using, was these are athletes.
Yeah.
I remember talking, I can't remember the guy's name. He was such a nice guy. I met him for coffee a few times. He was one of the coaches for the basketball. Anyway, straight away, his language was all always about the athletes. And I thought that was really cool. Like, that's how you see them. That's how I'm going to see them, And like, I just, that was the coolest thing. Like, and then you meet them and like, man, they are athletes. Like they are, they're telling you what they're doing and they're telling you what's going on.
And they've been training.
Yeah. And fully been training. But also, like, how many sports do you guys have? It was unbelievable. The amount of sports that were going on. Yeah.
Yeah, we have 13 sports. So we actually have 2 winter sports. So that's skiing and snowboarding. And then we have 11 what we call summer sports, or all year round sports. So we have a winter Special Olympics team that actually competes at World Games, just like we have our summer
Yep.
team that competes as well.
Amazing. Also obviously the ceremony type of stuff too, like the people getting the medals, man, proudest moment, proud moments,
Yeah.
right? Very, very cool. What have you learned from about yourself as a leader taking this role?
There's so many things. One is that I will never know or experience what our families and our community is going through.
Yep.
So I never speak as if I know.
Okay.
And I'm always seeking to understand from our
Nice.
communities and understanding language, ways that we're approaching things, how we're trying to articulate ourselves as Special Olympics in New Zealand, because I speak about Special Olympics in New Zealand
Yep.
rather than Special Olympics New Zealand because we are one. So when we talk about the four partners being, whether they give a couple of hours or hundreds of thousands of dollars, we're all one and we're all creating
Yep.
that Special Olympics impact.
Where did you learn the power of language?
I don't know, to be fair.
Yeah, very like some of the things that people would have picked up on the way you've said that, um, and you don't know.
I don't
Do you
know.
read a lot?
I do read a lot, but I think for me, it's if I'm talking to someone
Mm.
and they're asking me questions because I haven't been able to articulate it, it probably sets off a little thing in my brain that goes, why haven't they understood that?
Yep.
What have I said wrong or differently
Mm.
that person hasn't captured? And for me, that's part of my leadership journey. And I before sport, I actually really wanted to become a detective
Oh yeah.
because the way people think and why they do things
Yeah.
is really it's because I'm inquisitive about that sort of stuff. And so from a leadership perspective, I do believe in understanding psychological behavior to some degree, because especially in if I talk about my netball experience, we're putting athletes and coaches in really high pressure
Yep.
situations.
Totally.
So I need to understand what's going to show up when you're under pressure,
Yeah.
whether
Nice.
that be outwardly, inwardly, how because we're a team
Yeah.
and we succeed as a team and we fail as a team.
Yeah.
And so part of that leadership understanding is that's where that language comes in.
Yeah.
Are we all speaking the same language and do we understand that? And so I have done a lot of psychological work with my senior leadership teams in and around that so that we can understand that we don't take offense to anything and we can move forward accordingly. And yeah, it's one tool
I like it.
in that whole entire leading framework.
You said at the start of that though, seeking to understand, and I think a lot of people that are good at leadership listen to understand versus listening to reply. That's a skill that's learnt, and it's a skill that you have to work hard on because it's like I love putting myself in situations where I know someone will want to talk all the time. Cause I know I'm gonna get a good talking to, but I use it as an opportunity to understand, and I actively put myself in a frame, right, what am I going to understand here? What am I going to learn here? Versus in some situations, I'll just listen to reply.
Yeah.
But I think having that switch is, something you've said there that really, really does help you become a better person because you're delivering and actively listening to the reasons why they haven't understood you.
But you're conscious of that, right?
Totally.
And
Yeah.
so being sitting in a situation or feeling uncomfortable, trying to seek to listen versus just replying
Yeah.
back's actually from when you think about leading yourself, that's the sort of battles that you have to go through without
Yeah.
people even understanding
Yeah.
that or working through that.
Yeah, I know, and I work on gamifying it. How can I like this conversation? I know, I'll have a couple today. I'll be listening to understand,
Mm.
but the power of that is tenfold because once people understand that you've listened and you actually then understand, you repeat back, you just build rapport quicker,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
Under pressure, what did you learn? What did you find?
Oh, so much.
Mm.
Some really ugly sides can come out of
Mm.
people. But also, I think about the intent when I say that. People don't intend to come to work and be a dick.
No.
Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah, totally.
But there's something going on. There's some pressure, whether that's home
Oh,
life, whether that's work life, that's creating them to be someone that they're authentically not.
yeah.
And so as a leader, it's really important for us, one, to get alongside them and understand what is it, how can we help?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, under pressure, I've definitely seen behaviours in people that I know are not them.
Yeah.
And then obviously there's a side effect of that, right? So when that's in a team environment, that impact that they've had on the rest of the team, and
Yeah.
and then having to circle back to try and rebuild that and move forward as a team has been, it's a massive learning. And I learnt that a lot during our Pulse season in 2021. We had a change of coach, we had new players, there was a lot going on, and we actually needed to reset back to that common language, that common understanding of
Yeah.
what we're all trying to achieve and how we're actually going to achieve it. And it was something, I wouldn't say that we took it for granted, but because we'd had a coach previously,
Mm.
a phenomenal coach that had everything articulated out
Yes.
and knew the plan.
Yeah.
Uh, and it's just, and because you've been in that for a couple of years,
Yeah.
this new person coming in, you just think, oh yeah, we'll let them have that time,
Yeah.
that space.
Yeah.
But actually, there is a bit of actually nurturing that needs to
Ooh.
go on, or this is sort of the way in which it's been done before. Please put your own spin on it, but make sure you don't throw everything out.
Yeah. Yeah, because obviously that new person wants to come in and put a stamp on what they're doing as well. Hey, it's 2026. You're listening to this podcast and you've probably heard of AI. So here's what I want you to do. We've created a free playbook that'll actually help you with AI and help your business get recommended. So all you need to do is go to the show notes or the link that's in this video, and I'll send you this playbook for free. Mindset plays a big part of that too, right? Like, and what have you done to help your mindset?
Uh, so I've listened to podcasts, I've done reading. I'm at the moment fostering a police dog because from a wellness
Yeah.
work balance,
Yeah.
I have to take this dog for training and I
Yeah.
have to take this dog for a walk. And so therefore I can completely switch off.
Yep.
And so I'm learning, and I eventually want to be able to learn to just switch off.
Yep.
But at the moment I'm using
Hey, good.
other elements
Yep.
to try and switch off from work.
Yep.
And also use breathing techniques
Yep.
as well
Yep.
to try and work through,
Where did you learn that?
again, reading a book.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nice. So standing on the shoulders of other people and giants who've what sort of books do you read?
Oh gosh, I've read a lot
Yep.
of different books. So I've read around the red brain and the blue brain.
Oh yeah.
That to me was really interesting, and mainly read that because of the environment that I was in. It was high performance, high pressure. What does that look like? But I've actually taken that into my coaching because I
Yep.
coach a netball team as well, and they're teenagers.
Yep. So talk to me about that. Is that like around growth mindset versus a fixed mindset?
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So it's around the questions that you're using, the how you're
Yeah.
viewing the world. What does it
Yep.
look like? How are you helping them to grow?
I think it's fascinating. I'll go to my son's football training and he's in an academy, and I love just hearing the coaches ask the how
Yeah.
or what or where. They're not telling anyone anymore. I remember we were always told, but the good coaches now are asking, what did you see there? You know, and like letting the young person actually think for themselves. What did they see? I really do love that. I love it when someone comes into my office. Oh, Scott, I've got this problem, and I'm like, cool. They tell me all about it, and then they're like, and then they ask the question, what do you think? And I said, well, what do you think?
Yeah, you flip it back in and what?
And
That's because when they're out in the field,
oh
they have to make the decision.
yeah,
You can't save them.
yeah, and then 9 times out of 10, I'm like, that's a great idea. Let's do that. Because most people, especially if you set the right framework, you can't come into my office if you haven't had three ways you could fix this,
Oh, yep.
or 3 ways you've thought about it and then tried one. Like we're not, people just don't come in the office and go, hey, fix that. But if you let them, if you do that for them, people will, right? They'll land it on your plate. What have you learned from fostering play style?
Patience.
Yeah, patience. I'm playing golf with my family. That's teaching me patience.
Yeah.
Is it because you don't naturally have patience? Because I think most high performers don't.
Yeah.
They like we're running at the wall,
Yeah.
and then if you're not switching off, you bring your day into to another environment. And I'm learning this from playing golf with my family because we're all learning and we're all at the same ability at some level. And I can see I'm learning to be patient. I have to be more patient. I have to step into that environment where sometimes I'm not. I know I'm not patient enough. So
Yeah, definitely learning that. But also, I think part of it was that I'm taking work home with me all the time.
yeah.
Not so much within Special Olympics because when I was with netball, we had 6 months of the year where there's a high
Yep.
pressure professional team. We've got to win. We've got to make sure our fans are engaged. We've got
Mm.
all of these things going on, and so I'm on call constantly.
Yeah.
And I noticed the impact that that had on my daughter. When I said to her, we were watching TV at night one night, and she said, I said to her, "Oh, get off your phone. Just be
Yeah.
present." And she said, "Mum, you do this all the time." And I was like, "Whoa,
Yeah. Yeah.
mirror in
Yeah.
front of me,
Yeah.
moment."
Yeah. Yeah.
And so for me, it was like, okay, I really need to take a step back here and work out what is this work-life balance that I need to do? How can I put things in place to
Yep.
slowly get there?
Yeah.
Because just going from bringing it home all the time, but there's another part of that, right? It shows the passion, it shows the empathy,
Yeah.
it shows the understanding, and so from that though, she could see that when people are calling, it's not because um, they're ringing for a chat.
No.
They're trying to solve through a
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That high performance environment it would be relentless. Look, I don't know. I've been around, sport in some levels, but like you can definitely see, especially like the spotlight that's on. Like if you're winning, ooh, so good.
Yep.
If you're not winning, like that's when the screws get really and the spotlights start to shine. And I guess it's the pressure we all put on ourselves, but at high performance level, you have sponsors, you have other people that are part of that conversation. So what are some of the things you learnt from that as well though? Like from a I guess a mindset perspective, like from the pressure other people put on you.
Mm. Ugh, you got to figure out which is the most important one and go after it at that point, I think. So
Yep.
it's a priority of what is the pressure and what is the outcome and
Mm.
the impact. And you talk about it in terms of project management. What's the critical path in order for us to get to where
Yep.
that destination is? I think the hard thing around that high pressure environment is even though you're winning,
Mm.
you then have the internal dynamics that are going on, right? Because you've got a starting seven if you
Yep.
are netball.
Yep.
You've got a starting seven, but you've got three others that
Yeah.
are like want to be on the court.
Yeah, true.
And so you actually have to find meaningful ways to engage them
Mm.
and get them to understand they're part of the team that's
Yep.
still winning, even though
Yeah.
they physically may not be on that
On the
court.
court.
But it just takes one injury. So you've got to
Yeah.
keep them engaged.
Mm.
So it's really that high performance environment, when you're winning or when you're losing, there's still the spotlight and there's still different intricacies that are going on within that team dynamics of
So
the leading
it's a
people.
it's a good point though, like because these are business owners that are listening, and some of them have got pretty significant businesses, I would
Mhm.
say. What would be your advice around getting and helping, their team members stay engaged? Because like that's like I see sport and business pretty similar,
Yeah.
as far as the mindset side of things, right? So what are some of the ways people could keep people engaged?
Yeah, so what we did at netball was look at what not just the physical element or the netball element that they were bringing,
Mm.
but what from their perspective were they bringing in terms of the team dynamic? Because
Yep.
all of us are different,
Yep.
and all of us make up that team, and so it's understanding what that is in that person,
Yep.
but also challenging them in the sense that if they are needing to work on something else,
Yep.
then going to someone else in the team and helping to work through that. Now, that
Yep.
could be in terms of leadership, it could be speaking engagements, it could be all sorts of things. But being able to go, okay, this is what you're really good at,
Mm.
and this is what makes your part in the team. But this is how and where in which we want you to learn and develop and grow as an individual
Nice.
off the court as well as on the court.
I like
So,
that.
yeah.
So giving them, hey, this is some things that we're seeing and you're bringing to the team. This is awesome, but here's some opportunities for you. And young people, because most of the netballers will be young people. How do they take that today? Like, what's their take on things? Because some young people just want it all.
Yeah.
You know,
And now.
yeah. And now, and I've done the work to get here. I don't want to do any of that other stuff. So just hurry up and get me on the court.
Mm. It's hard, and it's putting people in an environment that they're gonna be successful in,
Mm.
and not set up for failure, or if they fail, failing fast and hard to be able to get back to it.
Yep.
So with netball, we always were trying to get alongside our athletes and talk about our whole. So, you're one injury away. So, what is the study? What is the business? We've got a lot of businesses that were with the Pulse that also have mentored
Yep.
um,
Oh, that's
the
awesome.
athletes. And so my advice to the listeners would be, have a look at where you can mentor
Mm.
and bring athletes in, because they are only one injury away from then it all being all
Yeah.
over for them.
Yeah.
And that in itself is a really complex piece for them to understand and get alongside.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
It's pretty, like it's an unforgiving environment, competitive sport. And look, I've got a few mates that play pretty high up, and you are only one injury away, right?
Uh,
Yeah, yeah. What do you think, your leadership style? How would you frame it if you were, talking to me? What do you see as some of your superpowers when it comes to leadership?
Probably my empathy,
Yep.
my ability
Where did
to
you get that from?
probably a young age. And everyone goes through different, we're brought up differently, but I think my parents divorced
Mhm.
really early, and I saw the pull of both of them, and so I learnt really on early on to be empathetic towards mum and what she was going through, and dad and what he was going through. And so they both had different perspectives,
Yeah.
and they both definitely didn't agree with each other, and so
Yeah.
you just
Yeah.
had to get on with that.
Yeah.
So empathy, my ability to listen and understand, and I want people to grow as
Mm.
individuals. I
Yeah.
so genuinely care about that. And I want them to be the best, but in turn, questioning myself and how am I setting them up to be the best
Yeah.
as well? What's my role?
Wanting people to grow is a great skill, like from a leadership perspective, like, I think it's your job as a leader to help other leaders come through the ranks. What are some of your keys for that? And when you spot someone who you think, hey, there's a potential leader, what do you do to foster that?
I get to know them. I get to understand them. What are they trying to achieve? Or if they don't know what they're trying to achieve, then working through with them. What are their strengths? What do they think they need to work on? And how can we go about developing that? Special Olympics is a really small organization, and I want every one of our employees, when they move on to whatever their next step looks like, to be able to say that Special Olympics helped them get there,
Yeah.
and that we then in turn have more people wanting to come and work for Special
Yeah.
Olympics because of it.
Because of it.
Yeah.
And that is a mindset, right? Like that is, when you make room, I had a lady on the podcast, Amy, who's a leadership coach, and she calls it clearing the runway. Making room. When you bring the right energy to emerging leaders, as we call them, and you really understand what they're trying to achieve, and you help them achieve that, you clear the runway for them to achieve. It's pretty awesome because
Yeah.
you're right. People aren't always going to, or not everyone's going to be a lot. My wife says season, reason, lifetime. Some people come into your organization for a season,
Mhm.
some people come in for a reason, and some people come in for a lifetime. Your role, though, is to make sure, whether it's a season, reason, or a lifetime, that they feel that you've left them in a better place than before, right? And that's what you're talking about,
Yep.
because that then attracts other people.
Yeah. But also the organization as a whole in terms of reputation
Mm,
is understood. And,
yeah,
you've seen it play out in sports where, culture of the organization has taken a hit, right? And so you want to make sure that you're not on the front paper,
yeah,
but you've got to do that authentically, and you have to be able to work through that
yeah.
with those individuals.
What do you think? Where do you see some cultures going wrong as far as, yeah, because I've been watching Netflix, right? And it's called Full Swing, and it's basically the insight. It's like Drive to Survive, but it's for the golfers.
Mhm.
And you see some like fascinating insights into the minds of these professional athletes. And look, one guy he got famous too fast, and now he's just drinking and he's fallen off the wagon, right? But then there's another guy who's something similar, and all of a sudden he decided, right, I'm going to change, but I'm not even just going to change. I'm going to get a sports psychologist to come in and help.
Yeah.
His culture, his way of turning up, his physical, his mind and well-being has completely changed to the point where he's gone from not winning to winning.
Yep.
And I just look at the two and I'm like, wow,
Yep.
there is
What that is.
it's a real line in the sand, eh?
Mm. It's and I've seen it in netball where we've had athletes go into silver ferns or drop out really quickly, and it's the resilience and the ability to look at themselves and go, "What am I in control of?"
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you described. He's gone, "What am I in control of? Who do I need to help me, and how do I get there?"
Yeah.
And it's that rawness to be able to say that and then go.
Yeah. We're with this other
Unstoppable.
we're with this other guy, he's openly saying it in these episodes, and I'm watching it with my son and my wife, he's openly saying, "Oh, I could, but I don't really want
Yeah.
to. I don't want to do." He doesn't want to do the work, right?
Correct.
And I think he's scared of how good he could be.
Yeah.
And it's a real interesting one. Resilience. You just said a couple of cool things, and I want to just capture that because I think resilience is a key. What were the three things or two things that you just mentioned about building resilience?
Yeah. So when you face adversity,
Mm,
you either go one of two ways.
yeah,
So you either lean into it
yeah,
and you are unpicking what feels uncomfortable
mm,
and going, who do I need or what do I need around me to
yeah,
help me go through that? Or you just do what you just described
yeah,
before and you go the
yeah,
other way.
yeah.
It's all
And
too hard.
the cool thing about it today is you're one conversation away from someone willing to help you. Another context in this in the program is the guy was really struggling, had a coach, then or he was winning, had a coach, then for some reason he got rid of the coach. 3 years later, he realizes the coach was the guy that was actually helping him, brings him back, wins a tournament like 3, 4 months later. And I was like, wow, like you're one conversation away from actually changing where you are. Because most people, they're not a tree. They don't actually have to stay where they are. And I think that's the coolest part. Like if you really want help, you're one conversation away. You could be one podcast away from listening, or one book. That's the power of things today.
Yeah, but it's also around asking. And if someone says no, not to take it personally, right? You've got to get out of your own way and that you've got to get out of your own ego and go, okay, maybe that person just at this point in time with everything else that's going on in their life that I don't have any understanding of is just like, I'm sorry, I don't have the time. But go and ask someone else because they will.
Yeah. I was on the Variety Bash when I was in the corporate world, and there was a huge entrepreneur in New Zealand, was always on the TV. And I went up to him and I said, "Oh, would you mentor me?" And he looked at me and said, "Why would you want me to mentor you? No, go away." I was like, "Oh, okay." So I just went away. And then I started my business, and then a whole bunch of people helped me. And probably about 6 years ago, this entrepreneur rang me for help with his marketing.
I love it.
Yeah, and
So
full circle, and then I saw in behind this entrepreneur, and I'm like, "Man, he doesn't really have it all together." But I put him up on a pedestal, and it was really interesting. Yeah, but it was full circle. So anyway, you know who you are. Hey, when you look at your career so far, and the organizations you work with, what's the gift that it's given you?
oh wow. Everything, all of my life
Mm,
experiences. I don't think I could articulate one thing. But I guess it's given me who I am as a person
mm,
because it's helped shape that.
yeah,
It's helped me shape, go, oh, I definitely don't want to do that.
yeah.
But it's also gone, actually, I feel good doing this,
Mm.
or I've seen the impact in a
Yeah.
positive way.
Yeah. So you've obviously done a bit of work on who you are, where you are, and what you want to be. What are some of the things that you would say to other people? Because like I meet people all the time. I'm actually speaking at the university this afternoon, helping young people get a seat at the interview table. And look, most young people don't know what they want to do, but
Yep.
I meet lots of people in their 30s and 40s. They still don't know what they want to do. Where did you get the I guess what you want to do? Where did you find that?
I think I've found it in the way in which, so I could go into the corporate world and earn lots of money, but
Mm.
that's not what motivates me,
Yep.
right?
So understanding what motivates you.
Yeah,
Yep.
understanding what motivates you, and then from there you can then work through it. So, a psychologist that I work with said to me, "Fran, you don't want to go. I want to work for Nike.
Mm.
You want to be able to go. I want to work for an organization that does this." And it's
Nice.
similar with a role. So you don't want to go. I want to be the chief executive.
Mm.
You want to go. I really enjoy doing these
Yep.
things, and then understanding what that role looks like,
How good.
both for you, but then also the organization you want to work for.
That is gold advice. Understanding what you enjoy and what comes naturally to you. I would say leadership and understanding of people does come naturally to you, but you've started to learn more and bank skills onto that natural ability, right?
Yeah.
Which is a joy. Like I look at people when you're dealing with someone who loves what they do, they get it, want it, and have capacity to do it. Like you don't go to work every day dreading what you're doing, even though you're busy,
Yeah.
even though like you just see it as, hey, I get to do this. And it's definitely, I would want that for everyone.
Absolutely.
Look, I say to people here, Well, we had a meeting at the start of the year, and I looked around and went, hey, look, some of you people aren't going to be here at the end of the year. I know that, but at the same time, just had a lady resign a couple of weeks ago, and she's resigned because she needs to work at home and stuff like that. She said to me, "This is the best place I've ever worked." And I just think that is I love she loved coming here, she loves working here, but her own circumstances. And I was like, wow, that's pretty powerful. The fact that you've created an environment where people want to come to work, they love what they're doing. And I think, my dad worked in the freezing works for 47 years. I asked him one day, I said, 47 years, that's amazing. And he goes, well, I loved what I was doing,
Yeah.
but I
Doesn't feel like work.
well, he loved. I always say people come for the content, but they stay for the community. He went for the content, which was his job, but he stayed for the community, which was all his friends. They had a massive. He had a massive friendship group, and then he did say something to me, Scott. He says, You're not in jail. If you ever feel like you're in jail at work, you should leave."
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, that's interesting. Like, I've never been in jail. I'm never going to be in jail, but I just the way he made it really brutal as far as, hey, if you think you're not coming to, if you're in jail, then you're doing the wrong thing, right?
But he also provided you a visual on that.
Yes.
Right, because you can envision being behind bars and
Yeah.
that feels
Yeah.
yuck.
Yeah. And why would you come to work every day if that's what it feels like? And I do get it. People, sometimes you have to be in that environment. Sometimes you're learning more than you're earning. But sometimes you take the role because that you think that's what you should do. Well, actually maybe spending some time to figure out what do you enjoy, what do I really like? That's a great gift that it's given you.
Yeah, I'm very grateful.
I like it. I like it. Hey, this has been a fascinating conversation. If people want to get involved with Special Olympics, where's the best place to go?
Go to our website, www.specialolympics.org.nz.
Yeah. And you got some videos coming out that we're helping you with.
Yeah.
What is it that for the next 2 to 3 years for the organization, what is it that you want help with? And we might as well pitch it out now because, why not? What is it that you're looking to actually, really get some help with, and how can people get involved?
Yeah. Well, I approached you and you've been very amazing in terms of helping us get that marketing message and being able to articulate that. And so we want people to be involved with our organization that can help tell our story, brand awareness, but actually at the heart of it, that you're willing to create an inclusive New Zealand.
Yeah. Yeah. And
That is it. That is a big goal. That's a big lofty goal.
Yeah.
But it's actually not, it's that ability to be included. Like I got asked a while ago, what would Special Olympics look like in 10 years' time? And I said, well, actually, we wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
It's from an Olympics perspective, but we wouldn't exist because everyone will be included in clubs and opportunities. We can still have Special Olympics teams that only play against Special Olympic athletes, but we can also integrate that into society. And we have that at the moment as well. We do have clubs around the country in different sports that are including Special Olympic athletes in their teams.
Well, there's some good basketball.
Oh, there are.
Man, I was impressed. Like that was a good, like there's some really good games there.
Yeah.
Like these teams are, they're not just turning up to that. Yeah. That was a real eye opener too. Like the athletes that have come to play here, like that's cool. Like how good is that? And I think with the right people helping you, you can definitely tell your story more. So get along to a local club, and meet some athletes and hear their story and go and volunteer and meet some other volunteers, meet some families. Because you're right, you're never going to be able to live in the shoes of the people, but you can at least experience, the joy. That and then the warmthness and the realness, I guess, of what these athletes are doing and working hard to achieve. I think that's a cool thing. I'd want that for everyone. I'm just fortunate enough that Mike, who's been a client of ours for years, 10 years, decided to get involved, and we went along for the ride, and obviously now see the opportunity to just help, and I think that's all we can do is to be willing to help and share your story.
Yeah, and we're so grateful for your expertise and what that can do for Special Olympics, our athletes, and the wider community.
Yeah, well, I'm grateful that I've got a team that see it, get it, want it, and want to be part of it too, right? Which you've experienced this morning, which is awesome. All right, hey, thanks for your time. I know you're busy. You got people to see, but really appreciate you coming in. And obviously off the cuff. I think like you were having coffee, and I was like, oh, okay. Then I just
Put this in.
spotted an opportunity. Never let a good opportunity go. So hey, what did you learn? Love to know. Tag us in on LinkedIn or Instagram, or Facebook. Tag us in. Let us know what you learn. If you have special Olympic or special community in your athletes in your community, man, what are you going to do? Like, let us know where you are, and how you've been helping them. Love to know that, because one of the things I really enjoyed from this whole community thing was the amount of people that were commenting on posts, and the amount of people that really, really got in behind this. So, hey, if you've learned something here, tag us in, especially around leadership. Friends delivered some gold in here. I've learned some stuff today. So hey, go out there, share the podcast, have fun, take action, and as always, celebrate your victories.